All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Personal Collection. What makes this is interesting, this is the first in-person episode. So the last 10 or so episodes you've seen have been on Zoom, talking to different collectors across the country. Well, this weekend I went to card show number 52, and my good friend John actually lives here in Alabama, and we talked and we're like, we have to do a video in person about golf cards. So thank you for all the hospitality.
Absolutely.
Allowing me to do this episode as well. You have a really great, awesome golf collection. And this collection kind of shows you all the way from the beginning of golf cards, kind of towards the 50s as well. You guys are going to learn a lot about the history of golf and everything like that. But first, before we go over that, you want to tell your people about your golf background, why kind of you collect golf cards?
Yeah, so I appreciate you having me, and yeah, I am one of very few people, I'm convinced, that have pre-war golf, not just golf, but pre-war golf as the focus of my card collection, and that really goes back to my love of history, but combining that with the fact that I used to be a PGA golf professional. I used to help manage golf facilities, so my history in the game of golf goes back almost 30 years by itself. So yeah, it's kind of tying both of those loves together, the love of the game of golf and my love of the hobby of collecting cards together.
Now, when did you get into the card side of things?
So I was into card collecting like most kids that were born in the 80s and grew up in the 90s were, but mostly in basketball and baseball and things like that at the time. It wasn't pre-war golf for me until probably the last 3 to 4 to 5 years.
Nice. And what was that first card that got you into the pre-war golf side of things? Because it's a big jump from doing all like the modern stuff, 80s and 90s, all the way to the pre-war side of things. How did you end up getting in that side?
Yeah, it is a very big jump. And the very first card that I ended up getting was actually not of a specific golfer. It was a generic card for just the game or just the sport of golf that I picked up. A card from 1923 that I happen to remember, but that was the very first one, and that one kind of ignited the love for me, the spark that grew into the 250 plus card collection that it is today.
Wow. Now, on the pre-war side of things, what are some certain golfers that people should start looking at from name-wise and everything like that?
Yeah, so when it comes to pre-war golf or pre-1950, really, as a window, there's a lot of golfers, but there are a handful of major names that most people know. Names like Bobby Jones, Walter Hagen, Sam Sneed as well, Gene Sarazen, that are the giants of the game of golf. But there are also names that are lesser known in today's society, names like Tom Morris. From a playing standpoint, don't necessarily have the same notoriety, but they still have just as big a presence in the card hobby. Tom Morris, as an example, his very first card was from 1900, and he is known as the grandfather of golf. He helped turn golf into the sport that it is today over in Scotland and in the UK. But there are quite a few names beyond just those big ones that get you into the collection.
Nice. Now, I know you have a spread right here, take people all the way from the 1800s all the way to about the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
No, 50 not pre-war, but some really cool stuff as well. So how about you go through some of the cards and kind of show off?
Yeah, so I'll take it all the way back to the earliest that I have. Out of all of the golf cards in my collection, the very oldest card is actually a die-cut card from the 1880s, and I'll do this at a couple angles here to make sure that we get it right. Somewhere in the 1880s is when this card would have been made. Card from the company Raphael and Sons. This company is mostly known for its die-cut baseball cards, but there are a handful of sets that they had that are not baseball related, and this is the only golf card that they made, but it is, to my knowledge, either the oldest or the second oldest golf card in history. Really excited to have this because it is in very good condition, but it's actually an embossed card, so it's got a little bit of elevation to it. It's obviously not a specific golfer, but it's really neat to have.
Nice. And the second one you have here is Tom Morris that you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it is the one of the earliest, if not the earliest, Tom Morris cards that I'm aware of. So this was one I picked up a number of months ago, earlier this year. Ended up getting it ungraded, how I acquired it, but I sent it off to SGC to get graded. Got an authentic grade, so it's been altered in some way, shape, or form over time. But really excited to have that. A very unique image of Tom Morris back in his heyday, when at that point in time he was still working as the golf course superintendent and the maintainer of the grounds at the old course at St. Andrews, where golf was invented.
Now, did you design that course, or was it someone else that designed it, or what was the whole story with that?
So he did not actually design St. Andrews as it sits today. He did help develop it over time. He helped turn it into the golf course it is today in terms of it being 18 holes. St. Andrews, for those that don't know the history of the game of golf, is where golf was invented. But when that golf course was first made, it was originally 10 holes. Just 10 holes is what that golf course had on it. And when Tom Morris came along, he was the one that turned it into an 18-hole golf course. So he developed it into and the game as a whole into an 18-hole event or activity for people.
Do you possibly know if there's any reason why he did 18 instead of maybe like 20 or any specific round number? Or
so it was originally, he turned it into, I believe he turned it into a 20-hole course from the 10 holes that it originally was. And at some point in time, he and other individuals at St. Andrews determined that 20 was too many, and they brought it down to 18. Now, there's rumors that, they had it as 18 holes because there's 18 shots of whiskey in a bottle. But I don't know the exact actual reason, but they originally had it, expanded it to 20 and then brought it down to 18.
Some good folklore with the whiskey on that one.
Exactly. So yeah, that Tom Morris card is a really neat example. I have a few other things here to show you guys, including one of my favorites in my golf collection, which is this Bobby Jones rookie card. Bobby Jones has a couple different cards that are referred to by people as his rookie card. There are 4 or 5 different cards that all came out between 1925 and 1927 that are all in some way, shape, or form referred to as his rookie card, just for a smattering of different reasons. But that's the earliest Bobby Jones that I have, one of those cards that's referred to as his rookie card, the 1927 British American Tobacco card of his.
And I remember we were talking a little bit earlier, what's the difference between this one, the 27, and the 26 have the same images on it?
Yeah, so if you look up Bobby Jones cards in 1926 and 27, British American Tobacco put out in 27 this card that I have here. Lambert and Butler, who is a different tobacco maker at the time, put out a card in 1926, the year before, that had the exact same image on the front, and on the back it was the exact same printing, with the logos of the companies being the only change, the only difference. Both cards on the back even say 1926. So it's literally the exact same card, just a different manufacturer name on the back. But one of them is 26, one of them is identified as 27.
And also with rookie cards, so there's no like really set in stone, like their first debut or first year with that is considered rookie. It's just kind of like a general consensus. Okay, these are considered rookie cards with golf right now.
Yeah, with Bobby Jones in particular, it's just the hobby in general refers to a number of different cards of his as rookie cards because they all came out about the same time. It's not with pre-war and pre-war golf in particular. It's not that 1925 or 1926 or 1927 was when he first started playing the game of golf or first turned professional, because Bobby Jones famously, as some of you may know or may not know, never turned professional. He remained amateur throughout his entire career. But there's not necessarily a tie-in to when he started playing the game or when he started playing in tournaments or anything like that.
Okay, and then I know you have a few others you wanted to show people as well over here, the singles.
Yeah, so I've got a couple things from the 1933 Sport Kings set, which is most famously known as a set, a multi-sport set that has the likes of Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb in it. But there's also a few golfers in that set as well, including Bobby Jones and this Walter Hagen that I have. Other golfers in the set include Gene Sarazen, as well as this card that I'll show you right now that is not categorized as a golf card, but for me, it absolutely is a golf card. An athlete named Babe Diedrichson, well regarded as one of the best female athletes in history, all of history. She's known in this set as a track athlete because she is a multi-gold medal winning Olympic athlete from the 20s and 30s as a track star. She was a runner at the time, but later on in life, she went on to become one of the greatest female golfers of all time. She actually won 11 major championships on the LPGA Tour. She also was one of the co-founders, in many regards, of the LPGA Tour as it stands today. So that card it's not technically her rookie card. She had a couple cards that came out in 1932 that were also track and field related, but that card for me is very special. Because it's one of the earliest of hers, knowing that she would ultimately go on to become a legend in the game of golf.
And it's from an iconic set as well, especially with the Cobb in there, and also the route that everyone always chases after.
Exactly. It's a really neat card. The last two things that I brought to show everybody, or that I kind of pulled out to show everybody. First is a unique trio of cards that I'll show you. I'll try to get close to the camera here. On the far left is Francis Ouimet. In the middle is Harry Vardon. And on the right is Edward or Ted Ray, commonly known as Ted Ray. These three cards are special to me. They're all from different sets. They're all completely different in that regard. They're different years as well. But those three golfers, Francis Ouimet, Harry Vardon, and Ted Ray, were the three players that were in the famous 1913 U.S. Open playoff that Francis Ouimet, as an amateur and as a teenager, would ultimately go on to win. It's the trio and the golf tournament that would go on to become the plot of the movie The Greatest Game Ever Played. So it from the, I think, late 2000s, early 2010s. But very famous golf tournament that Francis Ouimet, again, as an amateur, would ultimately go on to win. And that is one of only two cards that Francis Ouimet has ever been featured on. The other was a 1926 Spalding Champions card. But very, very unique trio there that as a golf historian and not a historian, but as a follower of golf history, I really appreciate those three individuals. And then the very last thing that I that I kind of pulled out to show everybody is a trio of cards from the 1952, so not pre-war, but still very old, Wheaties set. In particular, Sam Sneed here on the far right. And then you've got Marlene Bauer, as well as Patty Berg, two female golfers from the 1950s. But these were all from the 1952 Wheaties set that was a multi-sport set that was literally part of the outside of Wheaties boxes back at the time, but spanned a wide variety of sports. I happen to have those couple, but there's a couple other golfers in that set, including most notably Ben Hogan.
So Hogan has that one, and then he also has the Burke Ross from 52 as well.
He does.
51.
51. Yep.
Burke
The Burke Ross. Burke Ross was a set that multi-sport set that came out back in the day. That's widely considered Ben Hogan's rookie card is that 51. There is also an exhibit card of Ben Hogan that came out sometime between 1948 or 1949 and the early 50s. That's also commonly referred to as his rookie. That's a larger card, but a couple earlier cards there than the 52 Wheaties.
One of the guys in our pre-war Twitter group has that card. Who is the guy? Like Sacred Cell or something like that.
Yep.
So I remember posting it on there. Really, really cool card, but man, it's pricey.
It is very pricey. So some of the rookie cards out there, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Ben Hogan, that are post World War II, are even more scarce than the rookie cards of the Bobby Jones and Walter Hagens of the world. They can get very expensive.
Yeah. Hey, well, thank you for showing me your collection. And then people can follow you on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, it's at John Morton 215, JOHN MORTON 215. I'm always talking about golf stuff on there, always talking about really anything pre-war. So feel free to follow me, and I appreciate the time.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.